Now, you guys know I went to the 21 convention. I was there in Orlando, Florida, beginning with Thursday afternoon, and I just got back actually early evening yesterday. Now, I apologize to some of my Patreon subscribers. I had planned on having some spontaneous, impromptu video content while I was in Orlando, but I was just so busy, I never got around to it. Because I know last year when I went to the 21 convention, I did at least 2 or 3 videos while I was in Orlando. I know I did an interview with Anthony Dream Johnson, who's the organizer of the 21 convention. Here's my phone. I forgot to unplug it. So those guys who were looking for impromptu, spontaneous videos, again, I apologize. That was my intention, but I was just busy talking to so many guys, man. I just didn't get a chance. And the one day I did have some time to do a video, a lot of the guys had left. Before I get into my 21 convention brief recap and a couple other things I want to talk about, I got some exciting news, man. For me, not for you, but for me. Now, you know, a lot of times when I start my videos, I talk about health-related stuff because I've had just a myriad of health ailments. Came down with type 2 diabetes in December 2015. Recently, I've been suffering from, as you know, this ailment called GERD, which is stomach acid reflux. And over the years, my weight has always been like this. For most of my life, actually, I've, with the exception maybe a large part of my 20s, I've rarely maintained a consistent weight. My weight, like I have one friend in Los Angeles, he used to nickname me Clump, as in Sherman Clump, Eddie Murphy's character in The Nutty Professor. I don't know if any of you guys saw that, when Eddie Murphy's character kept vacillating between being this really slim, lean guy and being this overweight guy. I'm not as extreme as Eddie Murphy's character in that movie, but my weight has always been up and down. I would say almost on a yearly basis, my weight vacillates probably by at least 20 to 30 pounds. And that's not even a joke. So anyway, most of the time when I go out of town, my weight either maintains or I gain weight. It either maintains or I gain weight. This year, believe it or not, I actually lost weight. I told my brother, I'm like in disbelief. I lost 3 pounds while I was in Orlando. Lost 3 pounds. Because I went to Orlando, I was 218 when I went to Orlando. Now, as of this morning, I'm 215. So I lost 3 pounds. Last year, this is in contrast to last year. Last year when I went to Orlando, I went down there at a weight of 216. I went down there at a weight of 216, came back 231. 231. You're talking about 15 pounds, man. I went down there on a Wednesday. I was 216. That next Wednesday morning, after I got back in town, I was 231. And the main reason why is because, and this is why I probably will give up keto diets and low carb diets or zero carb diets. Because that's most of the time I've lost weight by dieting. I've usually done some variation of a low carb diet or a zero carb diet. But the problem with low carb diets and zero carb diets simply is once you start eating carbs again, all your weight comes back and then some. All your weight comes back and then some. And that's what happened to me last year. Before I went to Orlando last year, I did pretty much a low carb / zero carb diet before I went to Orlando. But once I got it to Orlando, I started eating carbs again. So when I got back, I gained like 15 pounds. But again, this year, I lost 3 pounds. I lost 3 pounds while I was in Orlando this year. So that's That's an achievement for me. That's rarely if ever happened. Again, most of the time I go out of town, my weight either stays the same or it goes up. Stays the same or goes up. 21 convention. It was great. I would arguably say it was better than last year. And I thought last year was actually great. First kudos would be to Anthony Dream Johnson, because he's the organizer of the event. His stuff is top-notch professional. That event, I mean, I participate in a lot of like workshops and weekend conferences and that type of thing. And a lot of conferences and workshops I've done have been pretty good. But 21 convention is is professionally just very well organized. There's nothing sloppy about it. There's no aspect of it that's just sloppy or disorganized. And I felt like this year Anthony took it up a notch. He raised it to a higher level. Got a chance to reconnect with a lot of speakers that I met for the first time last year. Who, to just run off some names of returning speakers who I connected with last year, was Ivan Throne. I connected with last year. He's a real good dude. Goldman, guy named Goldman, goes by the name Goldman Unleashed. Super cool. Me and him had quite a few chats. He's a very interesting character from New York City. Yeah, he's just super cool. Me and him, we developed chemistry last year. We had a lot of great conversations this year. Who else from last year? Ryan Stone, excellent guy to talk to. Just fun to be around. Just really great guy. Rollo, everybody knows in the manosphere, and particularly the red pill aspect of the manosphere, knows Rollo Tomasi, author of The Rational Male. He was actually the main one who was responsible for me being invited to the 21 convention last year. He was the one who recommended to Anthony that I be invited, because I interviewed him on my old Blog Talk radio show, which a lot of people still listen to. That show is heavily listened to this day. I did that interview like 2 years ago. People still listen to it. Like, every now and then I check my Blog Talk radio numbers, even though I haven't done my Blog Talk radio show since I stopped doing it in June of 2016. But you can still find my past episodes both on the Blog Talk radio site and on iTunes. And I'm still able to check my numbers. Yeah, my interview with Rollo is still getting massive numbers, listenership numbers. So yeah, got a chance to reconnect. Richard Cooper, who always starts off his YouTube podcast, My Brothers from Another Mother. Speaking of the term brothers, a lot of people hear me use brothers. It is funny because I use it almost in two ways. When I'm talking about guys that I have a great friendship with, a great connection with, and say they're not of the same race and ethnicity as me, I will refer to them as my brother, as in B-R-O-T-H-E-R, the traditional spelling. You know, so there's a lot of guys who are at the 21 convention who I look at as my brother, even though they're not black, they're not African American, but I look at them as my brother. Then as when I'm specifically referring to black men, I use B-R-U-T-H-A-S. B-R-U-T-H-A-S, or a slight variation would be B-R-O-T-H-A-S. That's when I'm just talking about black men. So when I say, you know, the brothers did this, the brothers did that, you know, brothers tend to do this, brothers and sisters. Brothers, when I say brothers and sisters, and I spell sisters, S-I-S-T-A-H-S, that's what I'm referring to black men and black women. So somebody was teasing me about that at the 21 convention. But yeah, cool. We got a chance to talk. He led a great Red Man group discussion that I was a part of. Who else from last year? I'm looking at the list of speakers. Tanner Guzzi. Tanner Guzzi is a men's style and fashion expert. Real cool to talk to. He knows his shit. Yeah, he's very thorough. Hypnotica wasn't there for the whole weekend. He just basically came in for his presentation, then he left. But he was there. We got a chance to talk. And I had bonded with him last year. We actually did a podcast together. So I got a chance to catch up with him. Yeah, he's real cool. Jack Donovan, author of The Way of Men, he and I got a chance to talk a little bit. And yeah, he's a very intellectually thorough guy. Very articulate, knows his stuff. Hunter True, man is just a really cool. Him and Ryan are just really cool, man. To just hang around because they get such high energy, man. Their energy level is just really high. And actually, I missed Hunter's presentation this year because they were interviewing me. Me and him were back to back, so I'm gonna have to catch his presentation on video. But I heard it was 5 stars. But yeah, Hunter True, man, he's all about being an alpha male within the context of marriage. I think that's it for last year's speakers. One other guy, he didn't really speak this year, but he was part of the program. George Bruno. George Bruno, man. If you're listening, George, man, me and George Bruno had some great, excellent conversations, particularly related to my Mode 1 approach. He loves the Mode 1 approach. He loves the Mode 1 approach. He gave me exceptional kudos on the Mode 1 approach. He even gave me some tips on how to enhance my business. But yeah, he's a huge fan of the Mode 1 approach. And yeah, I got a lot of love and respect for George Bruno, man. He was man. Big ups to you, George, man. Big ups to you. Me and him had some great conversations, man. And there's certain people, man. Some people I have to really go into detail to explain why my Mode 1 approach is beneficial and effective. And then there's other people who pretty much get it like that. They get it. Once you talk about it for 5 or 10 minutes, they're basically I get it. I understand why you are so much about the Mode 1 approach versus a more indirect approach. George is one of those guys. He's one of those guys, he got it, quick. He's basically I understand why you're Mode 1 and why you endorse the other guys. I totally get it. He understands the full benefits of being Mode 1 with women. And without getting into lengthy detail, essentially, is what I always talk about. He said, Mode 1, if nothing else, it saves you time and it saves you money. It saves you time and it saves you money. Oh, and the second comment he made about Mode 1, he said, I like Mode 1 because you're not looking to manipulate any women, and you're not looking to be manipulated by any women. You're not looking to blatantly hurt a woman, break her heart, and you don't want to put yourself in a position for someone to mislead you, string you along, and potentially leave you heartbroken. So he's like, man, I understand that, man. Mode 1 accomplishes that. You're not looking to manipulate, and by virtue of that, you prevent yourself from being manipulated. What have I always said to you guys? I always say manipulation begets manipulation. Manipulation meaning that when you attempt to manipulate women, you open the door to be manipulated by women. That's the main reason. Some people have tried to say, well, Alan doesn't like manipulating because he's this moral guy, self-righteous guy. He's all about morals, values, and ethics. That's a secondary issue. But the main issue is when you're manipulative yourself, you open yourself up to be manipulated. And see, I don't like to be manipulated. And George Bruno, he got that immediately. Without me having to go into a lengthy explanation with him. He got that. He was like, Mode 1 prevents women from manipulating you. Anyway, some of the guys who weren't there last year that I got a chance to connect with. And that would include Ed Lattimore. He's a brother. Now, there's a stereotype of the dumb jock. The guy who's really good athletically, but intellectually, he's deficient. But over the years, there's been some guys in professional sports who have proven themselves to be both an athlete, top athlete, and a scholar. Ed Lattimore is in that category. Ed Lattimore is a former boxer, and boxers have never been known for their intellectual acumen. But Ed Lattimore is one of the most intellectually thorough guys I've ever spoken with. He's very intelligent. The guy has a degree in physics. Like, duh. He has a degree in physics. There was one guy I only got to talk to for about 5 minutes. He goes by the name Mr. Swift. He seemed like a cool guy. I didn't really get a chance to chat with him at length. He's like an expert wrestler, and I think also martial artist. Alexander J.A. Cortez gave a dynamic presentation. I didn't get a chance to talk to him at length, but he gave me a very enthusiastic endorsement for my presentation on Twitter, and I appreciated that. And I really enjoyed his presentation. He was just real. I like people who are real. You know me. I like people who are real. He seems like just an exceptionally real dude. Who else was new? Oh, there was two guys there, interesting enough. I was talking about my Blog Talk Radio show. There was two guys that I interviewed on my Blog Talk Radio show that were speakers this year. One was a guy named Caleb Jones. He has this method called the Black Dragon Method. I had interviewed him on Blog Talk Radio in fall of 2000 and somebody calling me. I hate that. I interviewed him in fall of 2015. And yeah, he was there. He was a speaker this year, Caleb Jones. And we got a chance to talk. He could have been being insincere, but he told me that was one of his favorite podcast interviews that he had done over the years, was his interview with me on Blog Talk Radio. Now, it was interesting. Both of these speakers I had the same pattern with. When I interviewed Caleb on my Blog Talk Radio show, there was a lot of things we agreed on. Like with Caleb, I agreed on his emphasis on non-monogamous relationships. But we kind of disagreed when it came to my Mode 1 approach, because he believed in more of a Mode 2 approach, more of an indirect approach. Whereas, as you know, I'm all about being upfront, specific, and straightforward from the get-go. So we had a philosophical disagreement on that. But that aside, we had a great conversation. I'll probably put a link to my interview with Caleb in the comments section. Guy named Jack Murphy. Same thing. Jack Murphy, he was on my show in spring of 2016. And we both simultaneously agreed and disagreed. Like, one of the things we talked about when I interviewed him was the BDSM lifestyle and erotic dominance by men. And on those two areas, we were in total agreement with each other. We were on the same page. But when it came to expressing your sexual desires, interests, and intentions to women, and how quickly and how straightforwardly you do so, he and I disagreed. Again, he wasn't really Mode 1. He was more about being Mode 2. But interesting enough, and I teased him about this, in his presentation this year at the 21 convention, he seemed to endorse more of a Mode 1 method, more of a Mode 1 approach. Whereas when I interviewed him on Blog Talk Radio, he wasn't really down with Mode 1. He was more so about being Mode 2 with women. So, I kind of ribbed him about that. But here's the thing with Jack Murphy, man, and I make this mistake both sometimes with men and women. Sometimes when I hear somebody's voice, if I haven't met them in person yet, like say we connected over the internet or first connected over the phone, I'll get kind of a visualization of them just based on their voice. And then when I see them, either see a picture of them, a video of them, or meet them in person, and they look different than what I anticipated, it like trips me out. Jack Murphy's in that category, man. When I interviewed Jack Murphy, to be quite frank with you, I thought he was going to be this short, slender statured guy by his voice. Just by listening to his voice, I thought he was going to be a guy who was maybe anywhere from 5'8" to maybe 5'10", slender, But he's a big dude, man. He's probably like about 6'3", 6'4". Look like he could be a linebacker in the NFL. He's like a real big dude, man. And so that kind of tripped me out, man. Matter of fact, speaking of height, man, I try not to take too many pictures at the 21 convention. Because it's funny, a lot of short guys who follow me will refer to me as tall, even though I've always denied that I'm tall. I consider myself average height. I'm 5'11". Well, if we want to be technical, I think I'm like 5'10" and 3/4. But I say I'm 5'11". But like 3/4 of the speakers at the 21 convention were taller than me, man. So every time I took a picture with him, it made me look all short and shit. Like Donovan Sharp, he's pretty tall, man. I took a picture with him. He makes me look short. Yeah, almost all, I'd say at least 3/4 of speakers were 6 feet or taller. Were 6 feet or taller. A lot of guys were 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". Yeah, I think the only guys that are my height or shorter is Anthony Johnson, the organizer of the convention, Goldman, Ryan Stone, Hunter Drew, the guy I mentioned, Mr. Swift. Rolo is slightly above me, but I would say we're generally the same height. But almost everybody else there, man, they're at least, I would say, roughly 2 inches taller than me. Who else did I meet for the first time? Guy named Texas Dom. He's into the BDSM lifestyle like me. Super cool. He was there with his son. Just super cool, man. Just extra cool, man. I love talking to him, man. Just really down-to-earth guy. Super cool. He was there with his son, man. I got to talk to his son, man. They were just, that was just wonderful. A guy named Dr. Sean T. Smith. Really great guy to talk to. He's a psychologist. Enjoyed talking to him a lot. Dr. Rock. Oh, now, if there was one guy who I would say that gave a presentation that resembled my approach the closest, and a lot of my attitudes and beliefs and assertions the closest of all the people, I would have to say it was Dr. Robert Glover. He's the author of this book called No More Mr. Nice Guy. Man, his presentation was powerful. Me and him are like almost like philosophical twins. Me and him, I would say of all the speakers there, I would say he and I were probably the closest in terms of our general approach to dealing with women, our general approach to the idea of being verbally direct and verbally straightforwardly honest. And if at least one more thing, like, one of my top videos is a video called The Myth of the Prudish and Monogamy-Oriented Good Girl. And that was part of my presentation this year. I talked about that. And one of the things I've stressed, and you guys have heard me say it without getting too lengthy, is that a lot of guys naively and foolishly believe that women are born with more monogamy-oriented tendencies and proclivities than men are. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. It's total bullshit. And that's why I always talk about Daniel Bergner's book called What Do Women Want? He points that out in his book, man. There's no biological or scientific evidence that has ever backed that shit up. None. Like zero. Women have the potential to be just as promiscuous and or polyamorous as men do. And that's one of the number one things that men need to understand, man. Women have the potential, from a purely biological perspective, they have the potential to be just as promiscuous and or polyamorous as men do. Matter of fact, Dr. Robert Glover made the argument that he thinks women enjoy fucking a variety of partners more than the average man does. Like, a lot of people try to argue that men are more promiscuous than women are. Basically, Dr. Glover was like, no, that's not true. He was basically like, at minimum, women are just as promiscuous as most men are, if not more so. If not more so. And that's what I've been telling men for years. All you guys out here who think the vast majority of women are these good girl, innocent, wholesome, prudish, monogamy-oriented good girls, man, don't even get me started, man. Women out here are fucking freaks, man. They fucking kinky-ass freaks, man. And that's why I talk to them like they fucking kinky-ass freaks. That's what contributes to my more one style. Because I know women deep down are fucking freaks. How you think I fucked so many women that were married, engaged to be married, and had boyfriends at the time I fucked them? Don't you think those women's husbands, fiancés, boyfriends thought they were good girls? But yet I fucked a lot of these women within 2 to 3 days after I met them? Because I understand women, man. I understand women, man. They ain't no fucking good girls out here. Now, that's not to say that all women are promiscuous. I would never suggest that all women in society are promiscuous. It relates to social programming, something I always talk about, social programming. If a woman has absorbed a lot of heavy-duty social programming from her parents, grandparents, other family members, organized religion, media and entertainment, other factions of society, there's a good chance she's going to adhere to that social programming and maintain a high degree of sexual self-control and sexual self-discipline. So there are women who can be brainwashed into being the proverbial good girl. I will agree with that. There's a lot of women who can be brainwashed and socially conditioned to behaving like the traditional good girl. But as far as biologically speaking, there's no such thing as a good girl. From a biological impulse perspective, there's no such thing as a fucking good girl. And that's what a lot of you guys need to understand. Okay, my mouth is getting dry, so I got to drink some water. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. So I think that's about it as far as the speakers. So yeah, and I had a great time talking to the guys, man. Oh, great news, my book. They had my books. Anthony had my books at the 21 convention. My books, to toot my horn a little bit, I was the first of the speakers who are book authors. I was the first speaker, if I'm not mistaken, I was the first speaker to have his book sell out. My book sold out by even before my speech. You would think they would sell out after my presentation. At the time I went on stage, there was only one book of mine left. They only had no more than 2 books left. And by the end of my presentation, those 2 books sold out. Yeah, my book sold out by Saturday afternoon. Yeah, so I was happy about that. I had a lot of great conversations with the guys. That's the most fun thing about the 21 convention. I mean, it's fun sharing the camaraderie with the fellow speakers and having great conversations with them. But my main enjoyment is conversing with the guys who paid to attend the conference, the guys who were the attendees of the conference. And I had multiple, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't get around to doing one of my videos, because there were so many times I was in conversation with these guys, man. Because I would say probably like at least 2/3 of the guys who were there had never heard of me before. They weren't familiar with me. So a lot of guys, I was new to them. I was brand new to them. And they were asking me a lot of questions, and it was just super cool, man, just talking to all these guys from different areas across the country, different areas across the world. And they said they were going to implement, the Mode 1 approach. A lot of them want to do email consultations with me, Skype and telephone consultations with me. Even a couple guys want to do one-on-one, face-to-face coaching sessions with me, which of course is pleasing to me. Now here was one comment that a few guys who were familiar with me made, and this is going to be the second thing I wanted to talk about in addition to just a recap of the 21 convention. I had a few guys, they say, Alan, I've been following you for a while, And one of the things that kind of separates you from some of the other speakers here is that a lot of speakers here, they have a lot of female critics and a lot of female haters. But based on the commentary I listen to on your YouTube videos and some of the articles I read, oh, here, speaking of my articles, I never knew how popular the NegroManosphere.com was. Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. Man, there were a lot of guys at the convention that knew about O'Shea Duke Jackson, who's the editor-in-chief of the NegroManosphere.com, and that had read my articles on the NegroManosphere.com. See, I foolishly tend to make the assumption that 95 to 99% of the guys who read my articles on the Negro Manosphere are brothers, black men. Again, BRUTHAS, brothers. But man, a lot of white guys and Asian guys and Hispanic guys and Middle Eastern guys were telling me that they read my articles on the NegroManosphere.com. And they've watched interviews when the times that O'Shea Duke Jackson has interviewed me on his channel. So, yeah, man, the Negro Manosphere, I have to give O'Shea pub, man. He's that site is growing, man. A lot of people there were familiar with both O'Shea Duke Jackson and the NegroManosphere.com. But anyway, going back to what I was talking about, a lot of guys were like, Alan, it seems like you got way more male haters and critics than you do female haters and critics. I wish I had a unique dog face to express understatement. Normally when I say insert dog face here, it's in response to a stupid question or a stupid comment. But that wasn't so much a stupid comment as much as it's an understatement. Yeah, man. That's the truth. I mean, I've been on YouTube regularly since April of 2017. If you look at the comment section of most of my videos, how many times have you seen women come into my comment section hating on my commentary? I mean, seriously. How many times have you witnessed women coming into my comment section and hating on me? I rarely have women that hate on me in my comment section. I would say probably 90-95% of the time I receive harsh criticisms and hateful comments from people who've listened to my YouTube videos is other men. I would say since I've been a book author and dating coach, the only time I've really had just as many, if not more, female haters and critics than male haters and critics was between roughly 2002 and 2005 when I used to post on this website called askmen.com. Ask Men. That was like the first major message board that I used to post on that helped blow up my popularity and helped a lot of single heterosexual men become familiar that helped a lot of men become familiar with my Mo 1 ebook. Because I created my first Mo 1 ebook in 1999. And yeah, when I used to be on the AskMan.com, they had a variety of message boards, like 7 message boards. They had like one for health and fitness, one for movies and entertainment, one for food. But the most popular one was one for dating and relationships. I got banned from AskMan.com 7 times, invalidly, unfairly, 7 times. Because the women on the board, because see, the main thing why I had so many female critics and haters on that message board, I used to expose mainly 2 things. I used to expose how sexually duplicitous women were. And again, for those not familiar with that term, sexually duplicitous, that relates to what I was talking about, this whole good girl thing. Anytime a woman is publicly presenting herself as the innocent, wholesome, monogamy-oriented good girl, but behind closed doors, she's kinky and promiscuous as hell, That means she's sexually duplicitous. That means she's sexually duplicitous. If a married woman in public is acting like she's all in love with her husband, but behind her husband's back, she fucking a motherfucker like me, I'm tearing that pussy up, and nobody knows about it, that means she's sexually duplicitous. And I used to expose that shit on AskMan.com. I used to expose that shit on AskMan.com. And women hated that shit. The second thing was just their overall manipulative tendencies. The manipulative and materialistic tendencies of women that I highlight in my book, The Possibility of Sex. So women used to hate on that shit, man. They hated that. Between 2002 and 2005, oh man, they hated that shit. That was the only period of time I can think of that I would say I had just as many, if not more, female haters and critics than male haters and critics. But I would say beginning with roughly 2006 up until now, I've had more male haters and critics than female haters and critics. Like the starting point, I would say, and I've talked about this a few times on my YouTube channel, was I remember I did this speaking engagement in Chicago. It was all black people. It was an African-American event, singles event. There was about 40 women there and about 25 men there. And it's funny, before I did this presentation, I thought at least 40 to 50% of the women who listened to my presentation were going to be hating on me. And I thought 95% of the men was going to be giving me a thumbs up and, you know, support me and saying, man, that was a great presentation. Do you know it was almost just the opposite? And again, I've talked about this before in various videos. It was just the opposite, man. I would say probably 95% of the women who listened to my presentation, they loved it. They loved the Mode 1 approach. And even the 5% of women who had criticisms of it, it was mainly centered around my language. It didn't center around the notion of me being upfront, specific, and straightforward with women about my sexual desires, interests, and intentions. It more centered around the fact that I use a lot of profanity and X-rated language. But I would say at minimum, at least 1/3 of the men who listened to my presentation, they was hating on Mode 1, man. They was hating on Mode 1. And so going back to the 21 convention, I had a few guys some guys asked me, why did I have so many male haters critics? But there was at least one guy I was talking to, he explained it to the other guys. And he explained it well. So he's a very perceptive, observant guy. This guy, and I might paraphrase some of his words, I don't remember his exact word for word comments, but essentially this is what he said. He said, Alan, I know why a lot of guys hate on you for your Mode 1 approach. I said, well, why do you think that is? He said, because if I'm a guy, say at a party, and I'm engaging in all this trivial, flattering, entertaining small talk and fluff talk and chit chat, but deep down, I really just want to tell a woman that I want to fuck her, but I don't have the balls to. And say I'm talking to her, and let's say at the end of the conversation, it might end with her giving me her phone number. But then I see you come along and talk to this same woman, and you just straight up tell this woman in a bold, ballsy manner, I want to fuck the shit out of you. And she's receptive to that. He said, that's going to make me feel like a verbal coward. He said, that's going to make me feel like a punk. Because I'm going to be like, damn, I did all that bullshit talk for like 45 minutes just to get a phone number. And Alan Roger Currie comes along and just tells this woman within the first 2 to 3 minutes of the conversation, I want to fuck the shit out of you. And she's ready to go home with him and give him the pussy. He said, that would make me feel like a punk. And that's the truth. His assessment is the truth. Like, I'll tell you, two guys, I used to post on this site called the London Seduction Society Forum. It's a London-based forum that's now defunct. But I had two guys on that site that admitted that to me, man. When I first got on that site, they used to just always hate on me, man. for no reason, they would just always be like hating on me, criticize me, insult me and shit. But then a few months later, both of them wrote me an inbox message through the website, and they basically more or less apologized to me. They both essentially said the same thing. That guy said, they said, Alan, I'm going to offer you an apology, man. You know, I've been reading a lot of your posts on the message board, and really, you seem like a very level-headed guy. You seem like a very intelligent guy. And I know I always was criticizing you and insulting you and giving you a hard time. But I'm going to go ahead and confess the reason why. And again, I'm paraphrasing the words, but essentially both of them told me, they said, Alan, your mode one approach, if there's one negative thing about it, is that it has the potential to make other men feel like their style of verbal communication is not as manly as yours. Like they're basically verbal cowards. Because you just say whatever the fuck you feel like saying to women, man, without, you don't care. Because you don't care if you get rejected. That's your strength. You don't care if you get rejected. So that's the number one thing that gives you the ammunition to be so ballsy and so straightforward with women, because you genuinely just don't care if you get rejected. Whereas most of us average Joe type guys, we're profoundly afraid of rejection. We're deeply afraid of being rejected by a woman within the first 5 to 10 minutes of our first conversation with a woman. We don't want that to happen. So to prevent that, we engage in a bunch of trivial, flattering, entertaining, bullshit conversation with them in an attempt to ideally prevent rejection and at minimum delay it or minimize the egotistical sting of the rejection. And he said, that's why I think you have so many guys that hate on you, because your verbal communication style makes a lot of guys feel like verbal cowards. So in simple terms, that's why I have so many male haters and critics, man. Because most guys don't have my balls, man. Like that's one thing I said in my presentation, because there was a lot of guys there that were kind of big and muscular. And a lot of people associate being big and muscular with being very alpha. And to a certain extent, I do think taking care of your body and your physique does contribute to having a more alpha demeanor. So I don't want to disparage anybody who emphasizes health and fitness and staying in shape. But one point I made in my presentation is I've known guys who were very muscular and had above average to exceptional fighting skills that when it came to their verbal communication skills, they weren't nowhere near my league. They weren't nowhere near my league. When it came to the category of balls and backbone with women, like I know a lot of men who have a lot of balls and backbone with other men. In other words, they won't take no shit from men, and they'll straightforwardly express their thoughts, opinions, criticisms, insults to other men. But when it comes to dealing with women, a lot of those guys are punks. I ain't never been no punk with women, man, with the exception of before I became on one. Starting with that verbal seduction story number one, and Ooh said again, up until now, I ain't never been no verbal coward with women. I tell women whatever the fuck is on my mind. And I don't give a fuck if they criticize me. I don't give a fuck if they insult me. I don't give a fuck if they straightforwardly reject me. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Y'all know my stories, man. There's been times when the first thing out my mouth with a woman was, I want to see my dick in your mouth. I know a lot of guys that don't even remotely have the balls to say some shit like that to a woman. And the very first thing out their mouth. So yeah, that's why I got so many male haters and critics. Among other reasons, is because a lot of guys don't have the verbal balls and they don't have the confidence and and courage that I do when it comes to conversing with women and expressing my straightforward. Because see, again, a lot of guys, like that guy said, a lot of guys are looking to prevent rejection. Or if not prevent it, at minimum delay it or minimize the egotistical sting of it. That's never been my objective. That's never been my objective. If a woman's not interested in me, I want her to reject me as quickly as possible. I want her to reject me as quickly as possible. I don't want a woman wasting my motherfucking time. Like all these guys talking about going out on dates with women that have carried, you know, my very last video I talked on that, so I ain't going to rehash what I talked about in my very last video. But man, Man, I don't think I've hardly ever gone on a date with a woman to score casual sex from. That might have been maybe once or twice when I was real young. But other than my very early 20s, man, I don't go out on no dates with women when I just want to fuck them. The only women I go out on dates with is women that I'm looking at as long-term girlfriend material. But women that I'm looking at as just casual fuck buddies, I don't spend no money on no women, man, to fuck them, man. I just boldly and straightforwardly tell women that I want to fuck them. Period. And either they're going to reciprocate my desires and interests, they're going to reject my desires and interests, or they're going to be somewhere in the middle, which is manipulative head games. They're going to reciprocate, reject, or they're going to operate somewhere in the middle, which is representative of manipulative head games. And I know how to neutralize manipulative head games. A secondary reason, and then I'll wrap up, I would say the secondary reason I have a lot of male haters and critics is because there's a lot of men, and this is where I'm going to have to bring race into the issue. I would say really men in general, but particularly a lot of black men, they like to criticize women based on race. Based on race. I don't like to criticize women based on race. In other words, I'll give you an example. A lot of guys will say all black women are ratchet. All black women are obese. All black women are bitches. See, man, I'm not into that shit. And because I don't share these same criticisms and insults, guys will say, oh, man, Alan, he's scared to criticize women, and particularly black women. He's scared of losing his popularity with women, and particularly black women. No, that ain't the thing. Read my book, The Possibility of Sex. What do? I criticize women by their behavior attributes. By their behavior attributes. In other words, if a woman's manipulative, I don't say all black women are manipulative. I just say I don't like manipulative women. If women are hard to get along with, I don't say black women are hard to get along with. I just say I don't like women who are hard to get along with, or bitches. I don't like women who are disrespectful. I don't like women who are very materialistic. Why you got to attach race to it? If you're talking about women who are obese, why you got to attach race to it? Just say I don't like obese women. If you're talking about women who have a bunch of kids out of wedlock, why you got to attach black women to that? Just say, I don't like women who have kids out of wedlock. There's a lot of white women who have kids out of wedlock. There's a lot of Asian women who have kids out of wedlock. Why you got to attach race to it? Race ain't got shit to do with it. If a woman got a fucked up characteristic, a fucked up attribute, just talk about that fucked up characteristic or that fucked up attribute. Why you got to attach a race to it? So that's a secondary reason why I got a lot of male haters and critics here on YouTube, and again, particularly fellow black men. Because I don't like to highlight women by race. I highlight them by what's fucked up about them. So yeah, man, Mo One, the reason why women love Mo One, because I give them a clear-cut opening to reject me if they feel the need to reject me. And a lot of men don't want to do that. Again, man, most men, they engage in all this bullshit conversation. But what's the challenging thing for a woman about bullshit conversation? It doesn't give a woman a clear-cut opening to reject you, which is what most pickup artists want. And the guys who follow pickup artists want. They don't want a woman to have a clear-cut opening to reject them. I do. And that's what has separated me, and that's what always will separate Alan Roger Currie from 99% of the dating coaches and pickup artists out there. If a woman's not interested in Alan Roger Currie, I want to know that as quickly and straightforwardly as possible. My ego is strong, man, and it's not easily bruised, man. Women can't fuck with my ego. They can't fuck with my self-esteem, because I could have 10 women reject me in a row, and I still know that Alan Roger Currie is the shit. Believe that shit. I still know I'm the shit. I still know I got some of the best dick around. Believe that shit. Alan Roger Currie is back home from a great time in Orlando. Patreon subscribers, I got content coming up for you. I got a live stream on Thursday at 4 o'clock Eastern. Live stream at Thursday at 4 o'clock Eastern. Quit being afraid of rejection. Quit being afraid of harsh criticisms and insults from women, man. Speak your mind. Be a man, man. Be a man. Be Mo One.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir. Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
Mode 1.
Daddy, can I go, please? You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, king. Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice, how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice, how you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. The king.
The king.
The king.